Welcome to the Life and Times podcast. I'm your host, Blotchke, and this is the Life and Times of Barry Manilow. Love him or roll your eyes at your mom's old vinyl collection, you can't deny the impact he's had on music and pop culture. But before Mandy, before Copacabana, and long before he became the darling of sold-out Vegas shows, Barry was just a Brooklyn kid with big dreams. Today, we're peeling back the curtain on his early years, his personal life, and his remarkable career. Picture it. Brooklyn, New York, June 17, 1943. A baby named Barry Allen Pincus is born into a working-class Jewish family. Now, the name Pincus doesn't exactly scream pop stardom, does it? Barry would later adopt his mother's maiden name, Manilow, but we're getting ahead of ourselves. Barry's childhood wasn't exactly the glamorous sequined affair we associate with his Vegas shows. His parents, Edna and Harold, split when he was just a baby, and Barry was primarily raised by his mother and his doting grandparents. It was his grandfather, Joseph, who introduced him to the magic of music. You see, Grandpa Joe would take little Barry to Times Square to play records in a coin-based jukebox booth. Imagine young Barry, barely tall enough to see the machine, being mesmerized by the magic of sound. That right there was the spark. Growing up in Williamsburg, Barry wasn't your typical streetwise Brooklyn kid. While others were playing stickball, Barry was glued to a piano. He attended Eastern District High School, where, fun fact, he played the accordion before mastering the piano. Not exactly the chick magnet instrument, but hey, look where it got him. Barry also had a knack for arranging music early on. At just 13 years old, he was already reworking sheet music to make songs of his own. The attention to detail would later help him craft some of the most unforgettable arrangements in pop music history. Barry's first love wasn't actually pop music, it was musical theater. After high school, he enrolled at the New York College of Music, and later attended Juilliard, where he studied classical music while working at CBS to pay the bills. Imagine that, a young Manilow running coffee for TV executives by day, and composing music by night. Now here's where fate steps in. While working at CBS, he was asked to arrange music for a new off-Broadway musical. That little gig led to a job writing jingles. And not just any jingles, some of the most iconic ad jingles of all time. Remember, Like a Good Neighbor, State Farm is there? Yup, that was Barry. You deserve a break today for McDonald's? Barry again. The guy had a knack for writing catchy hooks, a skill that would serve him well in his future career. What many don't know is that Barry was also the music director for the first season of the TV show AM America, which later evolved into Good Morning America. He was behind the scenes of one of the most watched morning shows before stepping fully into the spotlight himself. By the early 1970s, Barry was cutting his teeth as Bette Midler's pianist and arranger. Picture Barry and Bette tearing it up at New York's Continental Baths, a steamy anything-goes gay bathhouse turned cabaret hotspot. It was an unlikely launchpad, but it gave Barry the exposure and confidence to strike out on his own. Then came 1974, Mandy, his first big hit. Funny thing is, it was originally titled Brandy, but since another song by that same name was already climbing the charts, they switched it up, and just like that, Barry Manilow became a household name. What followed was a string of hits that defined the 70s and 80s. Could It Be Magic? I Write the Songs? Ironically written by Bruce Johnston of the Beach Boys. And of course, Copacabana, the ultimate Latin-flavored pop soap opera in a song. Another lesser-known fact, Barry was the first artist to have 5 albums on the best-selling charts simultaneously in 1978, a feat only matched by artists like the Beatles and Frank Sinatra. Now here's the thing about Barry. He's always been a bit of a mystery. For decades, he kept his personal life under wraps. Fans speculated, but Barry himself stayed focused on the music. Then in 2017, he publicly came out and revealed that he had been in a long-term relationship with his manager, Gary Keefe, since the 1970s. Fans, rather than being shocked, embraced him even more. It was a testament to the kind of loyalty Barry inspires. Barry's never been the rock star type. No trashed hotel rooms, no drug scandals. Instead, he's built a career on meticulous musical craftsmanship. He's won Grammys, Emmys, and even a Tony for a Broadway special. And to this day, he's still performing, still selling out shows, and still making people swoon. So what's Barry's legacy? Well, let's look at the facts. Over 85 million records sold, a fan base so loyal they practically have their own nation, a songwriter whose work spans from advertising jingles to Broadway, and a performer who, at 80 years young, can still bring an audience to tears with the first few notes of Can't Smile Without You. Barry Manilow is more than just a musician. He's a storyteller, a craftsman, and a legend. And whether you're a diehard Fanilow or just a casual listener, you have to admit, his music has a way of getting under your skin. In a good way. That's it for today's episode of the Life and Times podcast. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the life and times of Barry Manilow, be sure to like, subscribe, leave a comment, and tell your friends. And remember, music, like Barry himself, has the power to make us feel something.